Tucked away across the vast farmlands of Nashua, Iowa is the home base for mother-daughter fabric duo Leanne Anderson and Caitlin Kubler of the Whole Country Caboodle. For well over 30 years, Leanne has been a staple in the craft and fabric industry. Her whimsical designs are an iconic part of her style, but how does an operation this big begin? And how does she make it work with her main business partner, who also happens to be her daughter?
My journey wasn't really directed by myself. I truly believe that it was directed by a higher power. I had a grandmother that was a professional seamstress. My mom, she sewed out of necessity because they were, didn't have a lot. And so she would sew my brothers and my clothing. And so I always grew up around it, but it wasn't until I got into high school that I really developed a love for more the arts, but I loved working with textiles. And so when my husband and I married back in 1980, there weren't a lot of jobs in the field that I was in. So I started my first business called So What? Almost Anything. And I had a sign outside my house. I lived on the highway, so it was an easy, people would stop in. And I did mostly custom sewing and alterations. And from then, it evolved. And that's when I started doing machine applique. And then I started doing the manufacturing. And when I developed carpal tunnel back in 1991, had to quit doing the repetitive sewing. And my husband actually said to me one day, if people like your finished things so well, why don't you sell your ideas? And he's an educator, and I thought, well, that's pretty smart. And so I started making phone calls because I had no idea where to go, what to do, how to create a pattern, let alone where to have it printed. And I got some advice, not a lot. It was hard. And I developed my first line of patterns in 1992. I was 34, 35 years old. Scared to death, didn't have a clue what I was doing, really. And I'd gotten some advice that I thought was really good advice, and it was basically go big or go home. And what I mean by that is this person said to me, find the biggest venue you can find to sell your patterns, and then take them to that, and because that's where you're going to find all the buyers. So I did some research and found the International Quilt Market that year was in Portland, Oregon. A good friend of mine who owns a quilt shop in Cedar Rapids, she and I traveled out to that show. We could write a book on the experiences that we had. And I had developed, from January to April or June, I guess, end of May, I developed my first line of patterns, which I had 18, which was a lot. And went to the show, didn't have a clue what I was getting myself into. And it was good. It was really good. And I haven't looked back ever since.
Just really thankful to have parents who showed me what hard work was, and but also to have passion for what you're doing. And so has been really important. Through college, I was a nonprofit youth administration major. I thought I would want to be a youth director or something, and it seemed fun and kind of easy, if I'm being most transparent. I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life, and that seemed maybe kind of fun. I loved working with kids, and yeah, so I kind of took maybe not a ton of credits, and I needed some extra classes, and I did love graphic design, and I'd kind of gotten away from drawing. When I was younger, I would draw a ton, but then I started to really like computer digital art. And so I took a graphic design class, and I was the only non-graphic design student in the major, and in the class, and I did really well. And so I needed an internship with my major. And so, yes, I worked at a church doing graphic design for their student ministry programs. And then the lady who was doing that job at the church, she moved on. I filled in, and Mom kind of mentioned that I was there 3 days a week, and I then filled in with my mom 2 days a week. And again, it was like we just didn't really know, but we were open to the challenge and the opportunities. I loved being able to kind of design in two different ways. Like at the church, I had a specific way I was designing. And then, when I come here, it was different. And I really loved that. I had the opportunity to go to New York, actually, and go to the headquarters of Jaftex. And I worked there for a month in 2012. I really was just kind of gifted to me on a platter by our design director. And she just said, I'd love to teach you everything that I know. And I was just so honored that she would want to do that. And I had this drive too to want to learn more. I think I got this from my parents. We want to produce the best product we can, and we want to learn, and we want to build those relationships. And so I just wanted to grasp every bit of knowledge I could so that I could give the best product. And so to go to New York, I figured out who I was as a person. I navigated the subway systems on my own. I was in an industry that I didn't know a whole lot about, with people that I kind of knew but didn't really know. And I was a totally different person. And so if I could bottle that up and have that every day, I would want that every day. It was amazing.
As time has evolved, I actually have my grandkids come, and they do some helping of assembling when they're here. They know that Nana will pay them. And so they're like, hey, Nana, do you have any patterns or any appliques that you need assembled? And so they'll do that. My husband works the business. He actually retired as a elementary principal, and probably about 13 years ago now. And we've worked him into it too. I mean, we can hardly do anything without him cutting the first things that we need. I'm kind of funny, even though I'm getting a little older. I like change. I like to see change come into my business. I have loved seeing the change that has come since Caitlin's come on board, the change with social media. I'm not very good at it, but I know the benefits of it. And so that's a big thing. I love my employees. I have two of the best, besides my family, and of course I love them. I have two of the best employees in the world. And actually it's three, because I have a part-time gal that comes in a couple of days a week. They are fantastic. They treat it like it's their own business. And so they take pride in their work. They have fun. There's always laughter that's coming from one area of the shop or another. And so, I would say I love to be creative. I love working with color. I love all aspects of it. Just the creating the patterns that go with the fabric. Henry Glass Fabrics has been absolutely amazing to work with. I loved it when I first started with them that they called it their fabric family. And to me, that's, as I said before, that's what it's all about. It's about family. It's also about building relationships for us. We don't just work with people. We build relationships with people. And I think that's been a big difference in the success of our business. I would tell my past self to don't miss out on anything that is really, truly the most important thing in your life, and that's your family. My business is extremely important to me, and I love it. But at the end of the day, my success lies in my 3 children, my husband, and my grandchildren.